Gabriel Garcia Marquez's novel, The Autumn of the Patriarch, first published in 1975, delves into the intricate tale of a Caribbean dictator and his unyielding grip on power, ultimately leading to his inescapable downfall. The book is structured into 6 distinct sections, each presenting a similar narrative of the dictator's reign, as well as the inevitable revolution that seeks to unseat him. Marquez himself described this literary work as a poem on the solitude of power, skillfully illustrating the protagonist's eternal cycle of ascending to power, only to face repeated downfall. In the captivating novel The Autumn of the Patriarch, Gabriel Garcia Marquez draws inspiration from real-world figures such as Colombian dictator Gustavo Rojas Pinilla and Spain's Generalissimo Francisco Franco, whose reign ended just before the book's publication. Through its exploration of pride, authority, paranoia, and the intertwined dynamics of poverty and hopelessness that contribute to the rise of dictators, this celebrated work garnered immense popularity upon its release and is hailed as one of the finest contemporary portrayals of oppressive governments and their grip on power. Set on a small island nation nestled in the Caribbean Sea, the story unfurls in the aftermath of the general's demise, with his opulent palace now overrun by looters and eventually joined by the common people. Against this backdrop, the narrator weaves a tapestry of reminiscences, delving into life under the rule of the long-standing dictator. Marquez's masterful prose breathes life into the memories, allowing readers to immerse themselves in a world where the general's authority cast a shadow over every aspect of existence. After a prolonged series of conflicts known as the Federalist Wars, the general seizes power in a country left vulnerable by the chaos of battle. With the support of the most influential political party and the backing of the British Navy, he ascends to the position of head of state. Though the United States Marines briefly invade, their attempts to overthrow him are thwarted, and they withdraw due to the outbreak of disease and the escalating tensions. Within the corridors of power, the general surrounds himself with advisors, but none are as significant as his mother, Bendición Alvarado. Sharing the presidential palace, their relationship sours over time, leading to her exile in a suburban mansion. A coarse and licentious man, the general indulges in frequent visits to local brothels, engaging in countless encounters with numerous concubines. Regrettably, he pays little attention to the offspring resulting from these liaisons, disregarding his paternal responsibilities. His reputation for forcefully pursuing any woman who catches his eye precedes him, tarnishing his public image. In the government, the general's closest ally is Defense Minister Rodrigo de Aguilar, a fellow general. They often engage in clandestine discussions while enjoying games of dominoes. While the general typically satisfies his carnal desires with casual encounters, he becomes captivated by a woman named Manuela Sanchez, a local leader residing in the slums. Frequently visiting her and attempting to court her, he becomes infatuated. However, Manuela mysteriously vanishes during a solar eclipse, leaving the general in perplexity and longing. Succumbing to depression, the general withdraws from the public eye, his spirits only rekindled by a devastating hurricane that strikes the nation. Leading the recovery efforts, he regains a sense of purpose. However, paranoia soon grips his mind as he suspects Defense Minister de Aguilar of plotting against him. Consumed by the fear of a conspiracy, the general's obsession intensifies, ultimately driving him to murder de Aguilar and grotesquely serve him as the centerpiece of a banquet meant to honor the dictator. Following the death of his mother, the general orchestrates a grandiose display of her body throughout the nation, demanding her canonization as a saint by the Catholic Church. However, when the Pope denies his request, The general responds by expelling all clergy from the country. Nevertheless, his attention turns to a young novice nun named Letitia Nazareno, whom he abducts and makes his lover. Letitia later becomes the mother of his child Emmanuel. While the general eventually allows the church to return, his relationship with Letitia becomes strained, as she demands more of his money and time, and her family interferes. Tragedy strikes when both Letitia and Emmanuel are assassinated. In his waning years, the general, feeble and consumed by a thirst for revenge, becomes fixated on the belief that the high command is conspiring against him. He hires a torturer and assassin, José Ignacio Sáenz de Libera, a ruthless man from the previous regime. With the general's approval, José carries out a string of brutal killings, sending their skulls as macabre tokens to the dictator. However, José's actions spiral out of control, endangering the general's rule. To retain control, the general adopts a populist persona, presenting himself as a leader of the people. The ensuing uprising culminates in the death of José during the riots. Surrounded by a new cadre of civilian advisors, the aging general becomes increasingly disengaged from governance. His regime allows him to indulge in perverse sexual games with those brought to the palace, including schoolgirls. Struggling with dire financial circumstances, the general is compelled to sell off the nation's holdings in the Caribbean Sea. In the twilight of his life, he fades into insignificance, occasionally resurfacing only to commit random crimes against unsuspecting individuals. Upon his death, an exultant mob storms the palace, signaling the jubilant end of the dictator's era.